Hello Cancer friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my video, Cancer January 2021 Astrology Must Knows. Happy New Year! I guess everybody's celebrating that we finally closed out 2020 with as stressful and crazy as that year was, right? And we do have a lot to look forward to this year and this month. And we do also still have more changes ahead, more epic changes ahead, and those can be as fast coming as this month. So we're going to talk about the things to celebrate and a lot of things to celebrate specifically for Cancer placements. And we're going to talk about the things to look out for, both for your specific placement and just in the stars in general. The first thing that is definitely celebration worthy is that we are still in these amazing open stars for forward movement, and we can make up for a lot of lost time. I am sure many of you will resonate with the feeling of stagnation and like things had stopped, stalled out, were moving slowly for most of last year, and that was due to the terrific focus on personal planets being retrograde. At the end of 2020, like at the end of November, all of December, and now into the first half of January, we have open stars because the planets are moving direct. And we actually, in the first part of January, we have a very notable version of this, which is that all of the planets are going direct, including all except for one of the star goddess asteroids. Okay, so all the planets that we generally look at in Western astrology, most of the star goddess asteroids, everybody's moving direct. So definitely stagnation is not going to be the key word of this time. If you have to do anything important, if you have to sign paperwork, if you have to make big decisions, this wide open energy will help with your clarity and help with your momentum, and you'll have that for the first half of January. After that, we slide towards Mercury retrograde, which starts about mid-month, this slide into the uncertainty, the confusion, the things being called back into question, the switch back to the internal focus and focusing on things from the past and finishing unfinished business. So the month is really split that way, where the second half is more this internal wrapping things up, going back to old things, clearing them up. And the first half is like very new things. And there will even be lots of new information coming from the eclipses that happened already, because Venus is going to cross over the point that the December eclipse was at. We had two eclipses, one in November, one in December. So you can check out my November and December horoscopes for you to see where those eclipses might have activated, what fields of experience might have been activated by those eclipses, and the storylines and things to know about that. But here now in January, more news and events are coming in. Also, possibly fruition of things that were suggested, or if something was headed towards a certain direction, you might see it come to pass in January. So it's definitely a month where epic life-changing things can occur. And in general, for the first half of the month, it's very well supported to do these life-changing things. Like if you have to take an active role in your destiny and say yes to something and take action on something, it's very, very notably well supported. But there's one caveat, and I will go into this in a much deeper way later in the video when we talk about this Jupiter and Uranus aspect, which is one of the epic clashes in the outer realms. But I'll give you a couple of pieces here just because we're talking about this now. Zealotry and recklessness and rebelliousness can come with the Jupiter square Uranus aspect. And sometimes not thinking enough about the future and what's practical and what's reasonable and what's doable, and it can lend to overpromising and overdoing and overcommitting. So just kind of keep that in mind as a caveat as you do these things. And if there's a way you can keep a footing in the old as you step into the new, just in case you need to lean back on it, or if you need to second guess it or kind of integrate some things, if there's a way to do both of those things, then that might wind up being good for you. You have to follow your intuition and synchronicity, of course, as always. But there is something about this like need or compulsion to just clear the decks and say, forget it, I'm just going to walk away from this and go into this next thing. And there is an increased chance if you do that, that you might regret having just so readily thrown the baby out with the bathwater, okay? As that saying goes. So we've got Jupiter, Mars, Saturn, and Uranus all in clashing aspects, and that can be very challenging. So that's definitely something to look out for. And Mercury is going to make clashes, and the Sun is also going to make clashes. So when these clashes occur, tension, anxiety is going to run very high. And plus from the Uranus aspects, tensions are going to run high, anxiety is going to run high. Okay, so we had this happening like October into the first half of November. So if you can kind of like think back to that time and think about how everything was anxious and weird. So you might have that come up again. And so everything that you can do to relieve the tension, to keep relaxed, you're going to need to pull out all of those tools, okay? So you might see people acting aggressively. You might be one of those people. You might be seeing people act recklessly. You might be one of those people. You might be seeing crazy weather or climate or world events, and you'll know that this is kind of in the stars. But there are things to celebrate. Now, the first thing there is to celebrate for Cancer placements is that there's a lot of energy in Earth this month. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. All of the personal planets will be moving through Earth this month at some point. And when that happens, it's very grounding, okay? And everybody needs that grounding energy, but especially watery, emotional Cancer energies that seem to sometimes flow in places where it gets hard to manage. That Earth energy really shores it up. So you will have more discipline, or chance for more discipline. You will have a chance for more focus and concentration. So if you have tedious tasks, I recommend that if you can get a leg up on your taxes or anything like that you have to do, business reports and things like that, or business planning and strategy, anything that's tedious and materially focused, you're going to have a lot more energy this month than you are for a while. So, if you can summon it, it might be good to get it out of the way. So that's definitely a must know and a plus. Something else that is a plus has to do with the aspects that Mars is going to start making to your placement. Okay, so Mars, having been in retrograde and having been in Aries from August of last year until now January, Mars was in that fire sign for all that time, and Mars rules aggression and it's the god of war. And the placement of Aries is not a nice placement for Cancer. So you've been going through this ongoing, the energy of momentum and action and activity and the male forces in your life. And that doesn't necessarily have to be gender-wise. It can be, just something that seems to represent male energy to you, or that side of yourself has been in discord. But now in January, Mars is going to move into Taurus. So that's definitely something to celebrate, because the Taurus aspect is in a nice angle for Cancer placements. It's a 60-degree angle. And so that's going to be this way for most of January, all of February, and into March. So during that time, each of you, or every Cancer placement, is going to have kisses from Mars. And you'll feel the difference just with Mars being in Taurus, even if it's not at the moment that it's kissing your placement. Okay, so one other thing or two actually things I want to mention to help you use these reports better. This report is for you if Cancer is your sun, Cancer is your moon, Cancer is your rising, or if you're watching for any other Cancer placements, this report is part of your astrological picture. Also, if you're a late degree Cancer, then if you are in like the July 11th through the rest of the sign, and the later in the sign, the more this is relevant, or the 20 to 29 degree Cancer placement, then I also recommend you listen to my Leo reports, because those are, you cuspy people have a more complex horoscope to read because of your placement. It shifts some things. Okay, so just wanted to put that out there. All right, so back to this Taurus thing. So a 60-degree angle is the ingredients on a counter. I always call it angle, which means that you've got opportunities that will come to you, but you have to use the ingredients on the counter to make a dish, okay? And so this has to do with your action and taking action. So just kind of look out for the opportunities where if you were focused or disciplined or, organized, you could take advantage of something that was offered to you. And because of the tilt to the past that starts to take place in the second half of the month, you can pay attention more to the new opportunities at the beginning of the month. And then in the second half of January, then you can think about, what did people offer me before? What did someone put out there before that maybe I wasn't ready, that maybe you weren't ready to do something with? I'm sure that there are things that are hanging out there that somebody offered something to you and you weren't in a position to take it, or you felt bad about it, or you weren't ready to do it, you couldn't concentrate, there was too much going on. And now you might be able to use this Mars in Taurus energy to be productive and to do something with it. This is a supremely perfect month for getting organized, clearing out stuff, for getting disciplined, for doing all of your medical things, like especially the first half of the month, if you have to do, tests, blood work, things like that. The stars are more open for that, and it's one of those things kind of grounding you into your body, where it could be very positive for you to focus on that. Venus is bringing a little boost to your work sector, so that could come through, even a raise or a side opportunity for work or a boost to your business. If you're wanting to start a new business, the first half of January is amazing for that. You've got really, really great aspects for long-term forward movement for anything that you put in place in that first half of January, okay? Also, employment and job seeking. All of those things are very well aspected for Cancers at this time. So if you've been needing a job, and probably a lot of people are going to be needing jobs, especially in the United States. I know that, the economy is definitely going to be under duress, and unemployment rates might really skyrocket with the aspects that are here. And if they don't, it will be a miracle, and we'll have to bless that. Yay. But there's all of the workings for what's typical of a transition. Humans are in a major transition here. And in this transition, industries are changing. So certain industries are phasing out or decreasing in our focus, and new industries are going to pop up. So be thinking about new industry, new ideas, ways that you can serve in the current climate, the current, circumstances. And you might be ready to put some of those ideas into practice, or you might be forced to put some of those ideas into practice in this month because of what may go on. Something else to celebrate for Cancers is that you may have a lot of support from other people at this time, okay? Now, while it is true that the Capricorn placements do oppose your Cancer placements, and this sometimes puts you at odds with other people, you might see this happen, but it could equally mean, it's equally as likely to mean that you're partnering with somebody on something, that you have an idea, you have a piece, they have a piece, and you work together on it, because your 7th and 8th houses of relationships are loaded. They're loaded with long-term planets, so this has been a theme for you for a long time, and they're loaded with short-term planets, so that's bringing extra fervor into this area for you right now. So if you need to find a solution, the solutions, especially when you might need help from someone else or a solution in a problem with somebody else, there's a lot of extra energy at this time for that. Okay, so let's see what else. Something else that there is to celebrate is that there's also opportunities for healing relationships with your father. Okay, so this is a long-term thing, but there's a short-term piece here. People who understand psychology and people who follow this will see over and over again that our relationships with our romantic partner, our business partners, always have this cyclical kind of storyline from the relationships that we have with our parents. And at this time, the father energies and the male forces in our lives, again, doesn't necessarily have to mean the gender of male, but there could be a mom who is very male-like, or what we would call male-like, and that could be a male force in your life. Sometimes single moms have to take on that energy, and so it could just be with with anything having to do with that that type of assertiveness, or a person that played that type of role. But there's a really great chance to heal those relationships now, and to point your kind of focus on, okay, how am I feeling the same now as I did when I was a kid? So like, for instance, if you feel abandoned by your partner, and one of your parents had abandoned you, or wasn't there for you the way you wanted them to be, then healing that childhood issue can help you to either have the person in your life show up more, or can help you to attract to you somebody that is more of a match for how you want your life to be, not how your life used to be when you were a kid. Okay, so that's really important at this time. Okay, so let's get down into the nitty-gritty of understanding this Jupiter square Uranus aspect. Unlike the upcoming in February Saturn square Uranus aspect, we're only going to have one of these Jupiter Uranus aspects this year. The Saturn one will have 3 times, and we'll talk about that more next month. That's going to be a very big deal too. But it's important to understand, like, there are must-knows about this transit, because it is a biggie. Whenever the outer planets come in close connection, or exact connection in this case, it definitely brings notable things globally down to the individual level, okay? So the first must-know here is that you will feel very anxious, okay? The energy of Uranus really rules like the nervous system in some ways. So it's like, when there's an aspect with Uranus, we often feel like our fingers stuck in an electric socket. And so the anxiety levels run super high, and those are going to have to be managed. So you just need to know that going into this month, even though we've already had, a long series of that going on, this month is going to be like that as well, okay? The second thing is that, even though, as I mentioned earlier, since all the planets are moving forward, it is a good time to move forward and to make decisions and to do important things, especially in the first half of January, before Mercury starts to slide into its retrograde process. But there's a caution here with the Jupiter square Uranus, because people can feel really, really, really compelled to do crazy things. And some of those, if there's like a calculated risk involved, could turn out really well. But there could be an interference with the discernment process of figuring out what those things are. So like extravagance, erratic behavior, because Jupiter rules excess. So like big purchases, big commitments, big, trying to cut something off, or big decisions about like kind of making a clean slate, a clean cut, and then moving forward, like trying to cut ties completely. There is some caution with that. So even though the stars are moving forward, and it is good to make these big decisions in some ways, if you can leave your lifeline intact, if you can leave an option, for holding on to some of the old stuff until you can see how the new stuff shakes out, because you might wish you had some of that stuff to go back to, that's a very, very major must-know for this aspect. If you've got that option to like wait a little bit until the tensions aren't as high, wait a little bit to see if you can find a bridge option that includes both of the things that might be in question. It's just can be a little bit sketchy making a clean cut at this time with this aspect. People are also very, receptive to other people's intentions. So whether it's on your personal level with somebody close to you, or whether it's in a level of like a leader or a religious leader or a political leader trying to exert or say things, people are going to be very open to suggestion at this time with this aspect. And actually, there are known cult leaders that have had this aspect in their natal charts, like the capacity to woo somebody over into something that seems so exciting, like it's going to solve all the problems. Just be very wary of anyone or anything that says, now all your problems are going to be gone if you do this thing, unless it's something that's low stakes, low commitment, has protections in order, isn't like one of those big clean cut where you're just like completely separating. If it's something that seems reasonable And maybe you might not even know if it's reasonable. That's the difficulty. You know, I would say have like people that you trust to cross-reference before you do anything crazy with this aspect, okay? So, let me see what else I wanted to tell you about this. So the energy of rebellion is going to be very strong because of the planet Uranus ruling Aquarius, and now Jupiter's in Aquarius and Saturn's in Aquarius, and then we've got these aspects with Uranus, which rules Aquarius, you know, so it's like the energy of like being a rebel, breaking free is going to be very strong, and you will be able. That's one of the very plus sides of this aspect, even though it is a challenging aspect, we could call it, it's a point of tension. You can break free of things that were shackling you. But the more you direct the breaking of the shackles to things like clearing up addictions, clearing up debt, clearing up, you know, overspending, like clearing up bad habits, the more you can be more sure that it's going to be a good thing what you think that you are breaking free from, okay? Because breaking free for the sake of itself might seem very alluring at this time, and people could make some rash decisions that they later regret. So a lot of caution and care has to be given. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, so there, you know, along with this can also come like impatience because you're wanting to make it happen, and you know, it's towards the middle of the month and things might start slowing down again, or, you know, here I'm telling you, like, take a little caution when you move forward. So there could be some of this like frustration with not feeling clear about something. But if you don't feel super clear about something, then definitely I would suggest waiting it out a little longer. The energies will be much more clear in March and April for trying to make some big decisions again in the event that you're not completely clear at this time. Some other things about Jupiter squaring Uranus are, first of all, that it may coincide with major trajectory changes. And this is an interesting topic now because we've just come out of eclipse season and we're still kind of getting some leftover things from the November, December eclipses, which definitely are trajectory changing and can really set people on a completely different course. And this aspect does the same thing. So it's very kind of eclipse reminder like in that way where it's, you know, you could see something come, and if it's coming out of your control and you can't do anything about it, then your choice is to clear up the resistance and accept it, or look for possible solutions or ways around it. And if those can't be found, then, you know, to try to regain your peace on the topic. But it does often coincide with very dramatic life changes and also changes in fortune. So people may make a bunch of money and all of a sudden be rich. People may lose a bunch of money and all of a sudden, you know, have a reversal of their financial situation. So those types of things can happen. An analogy that I've been thinking of for this aspect has to do with those stories we hear about certain people who have become famous too fast, or become famous too young, or become successful too young or too fast, or just too plain successful and famous, right? Sometimes, and I'm not saying that this is true for all people who are successful or famous, obviously, but there are many people we've heard of that have just not been able to handle that level of change and that extreme change, or that extreme experience, and it has burnt them up. And this energy is very much like that. So many people might be thrown into the spotlight, thrown into fame, thrown into fortune, or thrown into not fortune, you know, just like a big change. But a lot of it can be very positive, like, you know, you get your dream that you worked for, but you need some help and support managing the openness that comes with it. Sometimes this aspect can bring too much freedom and too many options, and the confusion that comes from those things, you know. So definitely if you're in a position like this where something like this occurs, remember what I said so that you can seek out support to help you stay grounded and help you stay centered and help you make good choices during the major changes, because zealotry is another word that I'm using to describe what this energy can bring. And even though The aspect is happening on the 17th of January. This is a big one. So we're feeling this, even a month or more before it's starting to build, and we'll feel it after. It'll flow after. It's a big one. We're not going to feel it just on the day and the week of this. This is a trend that's kind of building in our subconscious. It's making itself more external the closer we get to the middle of January, and then it's present all through January. Really, this is strong, and then it will start to fade out into February and into the beginning of March. Then that cycle will be complete with this particular aspect, but it is much more longer lived, and it can create very permanent effects as well, depending on the decisions made. So just be excited if your life is expanding in wonderful ways, but just keep your center and be very cautious with the decisions that you make, understanding all of these pieces now. Okay, so I know I've given you a lot to digest here. If you would like to have even more information on how you can understand and utilize the energies at play from the planetary perspective, then go to anniehelpsyou.com. There you'll see lots of blogs that I've written on astrology and other topics, but there you can also sign up for my free email newsletter. And with that, you will get delivered into your inbox 1 month early my written report of the sweet and salty aspects and their dates and what you can expect from them, as well as my general write-up of the month in a written version so that you can go back over it and digest it. So it's not a transcript of these videos, but it is a summary and some more details about the general energies at play. Okay, so you can get that at anniehelpsyou.com, and you'll also receive my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine for free as a member of my email community. Okay, so all that's at anniehelpsyou.com. Then you can go to cozybysweetstarlight.com, and you'll see my written horoscopes up 1 month early, as well as book recommendations for each sign for each month, depending on the sun, where the sun is for each sign, plus healthy lifestyle and spiritual lifestyle blogs on there. It's a beautiful site. You will love it. So you can check that out, cozybysweetstarlight.com. Definitely also go to my school, Luminous Life Multiversity, at lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. I've got free courses there on health and wellness, also on increasing your abundance. You can see those free courses, and you can see my paid course called Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery Course. If you think I put a lot into the free resources that I give you every month, you should see what I do for the paid resources. It is quite crazy comprehensive, and it will equip you to do whatever you'd like to do in astrology, whether it's just for your own self-development and helping your family and friends, or if you'd like to include it in part of a professional offering, or just do astrology as your work. I will teach you what you need to know to do that. So you can see all of that there. And very exciting, it's definitely time to get my book, Planetology, How to Align with the Natural Rhythms of the Universe. It's out officially on December 8th of 2020. You can pre-order it before then, and you can find it on Audible. It's on Kindle. It's in a print version. It's on Barnes & Noble Nook. It's a beautiful hardcover reference book that you'll go back to time and time again. All of the Books A Million stores and all of the Barnes & Noble stores in the entire US has ordered copies of this book. So you should be able to walk in and get it unless somebody's bought them already. But you can also order them on Amazon and at independent booksellers, many independent booksellers worldwide, and also some big booksellers worldwide have also stocked this book. So you can find it pretty much anywhere. So you can see that, more of that, by just searching for Planetology and my name. And I hope you have a wonderful month. Happy New Year, and I'll see you next month. Bye.